Welcome to another episode of Gari-On Talks. Um, Today we have our guest, Emeri Cayetano. That I know of, he is a former classmate of mine. He's also a registered architect. What else? He's a professor at one of our national universities in Belize. So I will say welcome to Emery and thank you for joining us. And I will pass it over to you so that you could talk about your background and how you got started.
All right, sure. Thanks for the generous introduction, Barrett. My name is Emeri Cayetano. I'm a licensed architect, as Dorrit said, and yes, we did meet while in school, so that does in fact make us classmates. We were both doing our Bachelor of Arts in Architecture at Caribbean School of Architecture, University of Technology, Jamaica. A lot to say.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, those were definite fun days. I remember the study tours. Um,
Mm,
the first one in Grenada in third year, and the second one in Curacao
hmm
in fourth year. Definitely fun film memories. Even today when I like to watch videos of countries and stuff. And as soon as they talk about Caribbean countries and they show these colorful buildings, oh, that's Curacao, all the thing and
You
they
know
brick.
right away, yes.
So it's still fresh in the mind, no?
hmm
But yeah, aside from being an architect, or in addition to being an architect, I'm also a father of three. I have two boys and a girl and a wife. Um, So shout out to them. I'm also the head of the engineering department at the University of Belize, um, as well as being a lecturer. So a part of the job is being the head of department and teaching architecture courses. Um, at the moment, we're on summer break, school's out. So but when school is in, I do teach computer aided drafting as well as architectural design courses. I believe one of the only other thing that's better than practicing architecture is talking about it and teaching it. So for me, being able to do both things, practice it and teach it, I can't complain. I'm
hmm
in heaven. Um, so that's a big nutshell, but that's in essence who I am currently and what I do. And definitely representing full-fledged Garifuna. Both my parents are Garifuna.
hmm
The whole bloodline, the whole ancestral line is Garifuna. So no piece or nothing else is in there. Garifuna out.
hmm
So yeah, that's me.
Okay, thanks for that. So um, tell us what inspired you to go into the field of architecture? How did that start?
Um, I don't know where, when, how. All I know is that it's always been the only thing that I wanted to do. I don't recall ever wanting to do something else. To be honest with you, quite frank with you, there's never been a plan B, plan C. Even when in 2005 I had to leave from Chicago because I was there studying first. I was studying architecture at the Illinois Institute of Technology. We ran into some financial difficulties, and I wasn't sure where life was going to take me after that.
Mhm,
At that point, I was very sad because the school that I was in Chicago, I felt like I was in heaven. Like I was just around these students who were like architectural nerds. Like they live, breathe, exude everything architecture. So for me to have had to leave that environment, it felt very sad, and I wasn't sure where life was going to take me from there. One thing I knew for sure that I wasn't done with architecture as yet, so
Mm-hmm.
I just had to find some other way to get back on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
My parents took me to Guatemala. To, forgot the name of the school. Landiver, something Landiver. But anyway, it's a really top-notch school in Guatemala City, and I
Mm-hmm.
was to have continued my architectural studies there, but believe I kind of had a reluctance to habla español. So
Uh,
no, honestly, it wasn't a reluctance. I didn't want to not do well in class simply because I couldn't
the
speak or
language
understand the
barrier.
language
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
spoken.
Right.
I I prefer if I feel because of something what I do and I could own and say I feel because
Mm-hmm.
to have it be because of a language barrier, I don't know if I could live with that. So
Mm-hmm.
I as I had already gotten accepted to Raphael Landiver, that's the name of the school. I had already
Mm-hmm.
gotten accepted there, everything set. I just at the last minute backed out. And you know with these school things you back out, you have to wait a whole year again
Right.
to apply to another school and be accepted. So every time these things happen, it's a whole year gone by. But fortunately, during that time, I was working at Mitchell Moody and Associates. So still in the field, still in
Mm-hmm.
architecture. Just learning the practical side of it. Since the theory side, since the classroom side of it was on pause. So that was from 2006 to 2007. In August 2007, I went to Jamaica and resumed my studies. That's where I met her, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we both finished in 2009,
Mm-hmm.
all right, with a bachelor. And then I learned, of course, that done there.
It
Um,
never does.
yeah, I went to the Association of Professional Architects to submit my application for membership. Proud and happy. I write
Well,
a
of course.
bachelor's, no, I could jump in now just to be told, you know, got the correct bachelor's. You
What?
can't get in with this. I
Oh
like,
boy.
I
Uh,
man, so that was another heartbreaking moment.
mm-hmm.
Um, one memory of that, one fond memory, and I always have to thank Attorney Philip Zuniga. It grew to a point of contention where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sue APAP. They can't tell me I go a bachelor's again. I can't get in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, Philip Zuniga came by Mitchell Moody, and I remember running out of my seat. I said, "Yo, Mr. Zuniga, I need to talk to you real quick." And I introduced myself because he knows my parents. They
Mm-hmm.
all went to St. Martin's Church
Mm-hmm.
together. Um,
Okay.
so I introduced myself and I told him I have an issue. I want to see how I could get into the association with my bachelor's. And he sat me down, he showed me the bylaws, and he said, you know what, Mr. Cayetano, if I were you, I would just go for my master's rather
Mm-hmm.
than waste the time trying to sue them
Fight
or
the
whatever.
system, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? You will be way more valuable with a master's degree. You have way more things that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So I am very glad that he gave me that advice. I am very glad that I followed that advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I one thing forget the advice, but our next thing to follow it.
You said it.
So
You said it.
for him to have given me that advice was the best advice. For me to have followed that advice was the best thing I could
Mm-hmm.
have done.
Yeah, a blessing. Wow.
Yeah, so I in 2012 I went back to Jamaica to do my master's degree. Finished in 2014. Um, Somehow, somewhere along that path, I met an architect, Abel Flores, and he mentored me into into the association, and he vouched for me. So while I was in Jamaica doing school, I was also working for him from
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica. He works out
Mm-hmm.
at Cayo.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God for the internet. You could do these things. I could be all
Mhm,
the way in Jamaica and still working for somebody in Cayo.
mhm. So you were doing remote before there was a remote
Yeah,
working title.
yeah. So that was happening all at the same time. Uh,
Mhm,
so by the time I finished in June 2014, I was already I already had years work experience, and when I graduated, I was continuing with him
mhm,
remotely still, and then we met in person on some projects that couldn't be done remotely,
mhm,
and then in 20 late 2014, like December, November, December, there's always MAGA season in architecture from
like in
November
every
to March.
like in
So
everything
my
else.
first experience of this MAGA season,
Oh
why
boy.
it lick hard. There are no jobs, nothing to do from November
Mhm,
to March, right? I was like, yo, no money, no, there, no job, no nothing. I was like, I got scared,
mhm,
right? I didn't know what it was. I thought
mhm,
why maybe some kind of thing happened. That's it.
mhm,
So in 2015, I saw an ad in the newspaper for an architecture lecture at UB. So I was like, yo, all right, this is, I prefer go teach than be broke.
mm. Well, yes.
Although the funny thing is, when we were at school, we always had this thing that those who can do and those who can't teach. So I was like,
Mm.
nah,
So either.
yeah, I spent my whole time to condemn people who the teach architecture and watch me going to teach now.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I quickly learned the the fallacy, the stupidity, frankly, in that saying.
mhm,
There's no harm, there's no one or the other. There's no
mhm,
you can only practice or you can only teach. The
mhm,
perfect merger, the perfect marriage is doing both.
mhm, mhm,
Students in the classroom need faculty members, need teachers who are in the field practicing so that they could bring real world experience and scenario into the classroom.
I
So,
agree with that.
so, so the whole idea of teacher practice was stupid. It was completely stupid, completely
Mhm,
young and ignorant.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so I have been doing the two since 2015. In 2019, I finally got accepted into the association. This
Yay!
is still years after.
Congratulations. Nice.
Yeah, and that was October 2019. And in September 2019, I got my driver's license.
What? You're
Oh
better than me.
man,
I
I
haven't
was
gotten mine yet. So
yeah,
you're better than me.
I was 30 something years, big man I can't drive.
Mhm.
Um big master's degree holder, I never have a membership in APAM. So the two licenses came within months of each other. That
There
was
you
my
go.
that
Sound like
was my
2019 was a big year.
yeah, definitely. Those three or so months. It was 2 months, September to October. My driver's license came in September on my birthday. My architect's license came in October during the AGM. So and thanks to Sheldon Mahong, also an alumni of CSA. Um, I don't know what happened that year. Oh, the guy who's usually the master of ceremonies had passed away.
Mhm.
So I don't know what tell Sheldon make me the master of ceremonies.
What?
Imagine getting my membership and having to be MC at the same event, and I reach late. So I'm
What?
in the elevator. Me and Rupert Hall in the elevator going up at
Oh my
Radisson.
gosh.
I say, yo, I reach later. I'm at the MC.
That is too funny. Wow.
Right? So Rupert the laugh at but I be later, you're the MC.
Mhm.
So I got upstairs, I apologized. I took control of the microphone and a part of being a teacher, you have to be a bit of a class clown. You can't be shy and introverted. You have to be comfortable with the microphone and public speaking, obviously. Teaching is public speaking.
Mhm.
So once I calmed down and got hold of the microphone, I just took over the whole thing.
Mhm.
But it was an amazing night. Um, the same night, a friend of mine, a co-worker of mine, Lloyd Carrillo, also got his corporate membership. And it's funny because Mr. Carrillo and I have similar stories, have similar difficulties and challenges getting into the association.
Mhm.
So for me, he's like the only person who understood my struggle,
Mhm.
and I'm probably the only person who understood his struggle because they were very similar,
Mhm.
right? So it's always a thing where I could look at that and see why Mr. Carrion
Mm.
is doing
Yeah,
like
it's not only you.
yeah,
Mhm.
it wasn't only
Mhm.
me. So it was a fun night that night, being the MC and receiving my membership at the same night.
Mm, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, when things are meant to be, they
That's the
always
same thing
come.
I was about to say. Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
when things are meant to be, they work out in our way where it seems poetic and
Mhm.
beautiful.
There's no way to explain it otherwise.
Yeah, but as I was saying, when things are meant to be, the all the stars tend to line up and everything works out
Mhm.
very fluidly, very poetical. Everything just seems more beautiful than they would have been if you force them to,
Mhm.
if you force things to happen, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a challenge. It's been a beautiful challenge, a worthwhile challenge.
Mhm.
Practicing, I've met quite a few good people along the way. Um, I have cousins who are engineers who I often work with.
Mhm.
So that's been a beautiful experience as well. Just having family within the same industry, the same
Mhm.
construction industry, and having collaboration with them. Yeah, so for some reason, we tend to not. I think we focus on the negativities because there are times when you have difficulty working in family. Let me be honest, and every time
Mhm.
it's easy, but
Mhm.
wherever it is possible, I believe we should
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
include family and work with family. So it's been an honor and a privilege to have family within the ranks, no? So
Mhm.
definitely a good thing. Um, but yeah, it's been some good years, man. I can't lie. It's been some good years.
Okay, good. Um, so in terms of your time in the let me go back a little bit further. What is that feeling that you have when you're working on a project, you know? I remember observing you when we were at school, you know, you're there working on the computer and you're like in sync with the computer, if
Yeah,
that
man.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
what is that like for you? I know as an observer, that's what I observe, but what is that feeling that takes over at those, at those times?
I I'm glad you used the word take over because sometimes it feels like that, like something takes you over and works through you. Um,
Mhm,
a lot of times you have instances where you're either tired, you're not into it, and then you're still there's a deadline, so naturally you have to force yourself to keep going, right? And
mhm,
then you stumble across something, a little thing, you might make a mistake. You meant to move this thing 5 feet, but you end up moving 20 feet. But then you look for it and be like, that 20 feet don't look bad still, you know. And then that becomes like that just changes the whole course of the thing, and it becomes the spark, the thing that triggers off the whole creative process after that. And then there are times where from the beginning of the project, everything just fire off on our cylinders. Like you're envisioning the whole project and you just go, everything just fall in a place. to me, that's the most beautiful experience, and it feels like something like how you hear people describe being taken over by the Holy Ghost, and you feel that spirit, or in Garifuna that talk about the Ahari and the spirits taking over. It feels
Mm-hmm.
something like that, you know. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like you by yourself doing this thing. It feels like something has come over you and is helping you, guiding you, and you just the follow. You feel in sync, like you're swimming in a synchronized manner with this entity, whatever it is that has come over you, and you just go, and you're
Mm-hmm.
literally seeing every single detail of this project to the point where the sun come up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're not gonna sleep yet from the day before. And it still not bother you. You still just the go,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because for me, I've learned that if I say, you know what, I was a stop and I ain't gonna sleep. Guaranteed when you wake up, I remember nothing, I know how to continue from where you were. So put sleep aside and finish as much as you could finish when you have that feeling. Then you go sleep afterwards. Sleep will go on later. You know,
There you go.
you not forget how to sleep, but you will forget if you go sleep. You will forget how to continue where you were before, right?
Good point. Good
I've
point.
always learned, you know what? This thing is go because go with it. We are worried about sleep and eat and everybody functions later.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's been many times you know it is many times at school the sun come up and still left out your computer to work. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize by the 9 o'clock in the morning. I get the clock there, jeez, when the
Mm-hmm.
time gone. Right? But that has always been something that I practice too. Just stay up all night for no reason. Sometimes to play video games, just whatever, just so that the body, when you need to do it, the body already knows how to do it. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't lose that practice. You start shake when 3 o'clock in the morning call because your body don't know what it feels like to be up at 3. Right? So that like exercise, right? You need to be
Mm-hmm.
primed so that when
Yes,
the
I
moment
teach you the
comes,
body and your mind to be able to
yeah,
bear, bear
correct,
it when that time comes. Because
correct. I need to think that we stay up three, four,
no, it's not.
five, six, seven,
No,
8 in
it
the
is
morning,
not.
or even worse, to go across the night through the next day without sleeping.
Mm,
It takes a toll. Uh,
yes, it does.
so you definitely have to get your body used to that because your body will betray you. And it's not your body's fault, you're not used to it. You can't force it to do something that's not used to. So hence the reason why you need to train your body to be able to do it.
Hmm. It's like practicing for, let's say, a marathon or
Yeah,
a match or some kind of sporting match.
correct,
You
correct.
have to practice. You
Yeah,
have to teach your body to be able to bear, remember the routine, the steps, the skills, the movements, regular practice leading up to the actual match. Because if you don't
yeah,
do that, there's no way you stand a chance.
yeah. You can't get up and just go do cancer walk. You
Exactly.
have to do some warm up first.
Hmm. Hmm. I learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way. Yeah. Okay. So when you take on a project, what what is your process to get it from the design stage or the planning stage? Let me not even jump to design from the planning stage all the way to the closing stage. What is that process like for you?
Well, the first step for me is to establish the scope. What's the type of the project? How big is the project? What how much time do I believe I need to finish this project? Especially if there are other projects that I'm working on at the time.
Mhm.
So to figure that out, figure the scope of the project helps to figure out time management and the length of time for the project. So that's the first step there. Once that's figured out, then um, I usually look to the site, look to the context for inspiration, for direction, for guidance. The site, the context gives you a starting point, no? Because most of the time the starting point becomes difficult to find. You need to have a point of origin. Where is the design coming from? One of the best places to start is the context. What's around the site? What's on the site? What can you draw? What on or around the site can you draw inspiration from? Because you don't want your building to, well, sometimes you do, but you don't always want your building to stand out in complete contrast to what's around it. Although sometimes you do. Sometimes not nowhere around it draws inspiration or gives inspiration. So it just becomes a blank canvas to what you will be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just a different direction to go in. So definitely the site, the context is where I draw my inspiration from, where the wind comes from, determines where you put fenestration, where you put windows and stuff, especially for a house. Where the sun, the direction, the movement of the sun helps to determine where certain rooms within the house go. You can use certain rooms to shade other rooms. Like the kitchen, for example, the kitchen are hot no matter where you put it. So
That's
I
the truth. That
so I
is the
either
truth.
put the kitchen on the west and then leave something like the dining room where you know how to sweat while you eat. So I put the dining room on the east so that the wind, the
Mm-hmm.
prevailing wind in Belize comes from the east. That's where the sea is. So that's where cooling breezes come from.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the times you'll see living rooms, bedrooms, dining rooms on the east. And then on the west, you could have things like bathrooms, laundry rooms, spaces that you don't stay in very long, spaces that we consider as secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Those on the west. So that you don't mind if a bathroom hot. I live in our bathroom, right? The kitchen, like I say, are hot regardless of where you put it. So put that on the west. Make the dining room be cooler if there's a struggle or a pick between the kitchen and the dining room. I would definitely put the kitchen on the west, put the dining room on the east.
Mm-hmm.
Living room for sure. You need to be cool and comfortable in bedrooms, especially. Also need to be cool. What I'm noticing in Belize is a proliferation of air conditioning, use of air conditioning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have lost that battle to say that we don't need AC. It is something that we I can't hide it no more. We need AC. There's unless you in a some kind of touch. The materials that we build with force us to need air conditioning.
I agree.
Concrete is very hot. The
Mm-hmm.
property of concrete creates heat retention. If you touch your concrete wall, even 9, 10 at night, it's still warm.
Right.
The sun gone on long time, but
Mm-hmm.
the wall is still hot, right? And all that heat does not stay in the wall; it radiates
Mm-hmm.
inside of the space and therefore onto you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you start feel hot because the wall is hot. The concrete pulls in a lot of heat and then slowly pushes it out, right? So you will see that not till 2, 3 in the morning,
That then it start get cool.
it start feel cool, and you'll notice that 2, 3 in the morning, and when you start feel for your blanket or feel for your sheet,
Mm-hmm.
because the 15 fan where you have the blow up, and you all of a sudden start feel cold now. It's literally because that's when the heat from the wall has finished pushing out,
Dissipated, yeah.
dissipating. So there's no more heat. So now coolness could come in.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally when you start pulling for that sheet though, that start
Mm-hmm.
feeling.
Until 8, 9 in the morning when it starts
Yes.
bail again.
So could you imagine from, let's say the sun goes down 6 o'clock nowadays, because the days are longer now. So
Mm-hmm.
from 6 o'clock the sun gone down, and it doesn't, your room doesn't cool until 2, 3 in the morning. Imagine that time span. That is
Oof,
crazy. So
oof.
unless we start using materials like insulation, you have styrofoam, you have different types of insulation that you could use to protect the wall, to prevent
Mhm,
the solar heat and to prevent
mhm,
the sun from hitting the wall, period. That's what you
mhm.
want to do, or the roof. Once
Or
you can
prevent
prevent
the
the sun
sun
from,
from going uh through that insulation to the interior wall.
right. So whatever you can do to prevent the sun from hitting that wall or hitting that roof, that will be what solves the thing. Whether it's planting trees, whether it's putting some kind of shading device in front of the wall or on the roof, something.
Mhm.
All right. So that's the direction we need to go in. Unfortunately, people consider these implementations to be costly and unnecessary. But yeah, put that for all of the raise the price of the thing. You don't need that just architect pretty thing to make the
Mhm.
building look like XYZ.
Yeah. And then still complain afterwards.
Right. So you try to explain to them that while yes, it might increase the initial cost of the build, when
Mhm.
you look at the long-term cooling effects of this
Yes.
thing, yeah,
Yes. The bigger picture,
yeah, the bigger
which
picture,
we really do.
you have savings, right? And
Mhm.
even if you use air conditioning, your cooling bill won't be as high because what
You
increases
don't
the
need to
cooling
turn
bill?
it on all the time.
Yeah,
Just those high points when it's at
those
its warmest, you know? Yeah.
right. The cooling demand is not as high because the
Mhm.
wall is no longer hot and heating the space inside, which then causes the air conditioner to overwork because
Mhm.
it's cool that hot space. So if you could cool the wall, the AC works less and the AC works more efficiently. So even if you just say we are putting AC, you should still look into some kind of shading and some kind of cooling insulation for your space, whether it's insulating the roof, insulating the wall. It all works together.
Mhm. Okay. And in let me ask you about your what project um are you most proud of that to have been a part of? What's one of those projects that you say, man, I really do it. I did it. I feel like, I could retire now.
Yeah.
I really.
Um, I'm not sure. Even if I told you that my house was that project, it still is a work in progress.
Mhm,
I'm still fixing things, adding things,
mhm,
want to remove things. Aside from that, I've had several houses. Personally, I talk about houses because a part of me prefers doing residential architecture
mhm,
because it's to me a greater, not a greater financial reward, a greater feeling when somebody get geeky and happy when you
mhm,
show them that rendering and the house bill and it look like that rendering and it works the way how you told them it work.
mhm,
To me, that's a greater feeling of accomplishment than when you have this big building with their board members that give you a headache because
mhm,
everybody want the office design a certain way
mhm, mhm,
and everybody feel like they're an architect, so they want to design the thing for you.
mhm,
That just headache. Yeah, well, yes, it might give you more money. It also gives you a whole lot more headache to the
mhm,
point. So time you want to finish the job, but you don't take your time and you don't, you know, want to spell your name, blah blah blah. So you
mhm,
just think on a whole lot, right? But I really do love the small residential, the small apartments, the smaller projects where you could manage and control all the little details of it and and really hand over a project that is complete rather than you take on this very large project and then for some reason large projects are coming at a tight deadline, so it's hard to get into all the fine-tuned details that you want to because they say, oh, we need the thing for yesterday. So they try to hurry up to get this thing done, and then you can't really get into all the fine tuning of it. right? So it's a it's a balancing act on either way. But personally, like I say, I prefer the residential, the small apartments, those ones that you could really get into and play with different materials, play with different ideas. And I especially love when clients give you that freedom
Mm-hmm.
because you could get these projects and why you get a ton load of Snapchat or what is it, Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
Get a ton load of
With
Pinterest
with the
images.
wish list.
Yeah, and you be like, so what you need me for? Just put their pictures together and submit that.
If only it magically work like that.
Then it's like there's no need for my creative. You only need me because I need you need to go see me and you can't correct the
Mm.
CD.
Get it approved and all these
I
things.
have no creative control over the project. You don't Pinterest the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't value those projects as much because I have always been an independent thinker. I hate when somebody try control my movements, my design, my ideas. Say, "Oh, do it this way, this way, this way, only this way." I
Mm-hmm.
don't want your idea. I just do what I tell you if you do that. Ah man, that project just becomes a real problem. I lose all interest in that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
Mm-hmm. All right. Um, so in your teaching, what have you learned since becoming a lecturer? What have you learned about yourself and about um, the industry in terms of students learning and being able to navigate from being a student to a professional? What have you learned over the years?
That I may have been the most suited person to teach at that time when I began teaching. Um,
Mhm,
the difficulties, the struggles that I went through getting my license, I could impart to students and they could avoid going through those same struggles.
mhm,
In other words, the long route where I take, I could come back and show them where the shorter route is.
mhm, mhm,
Right? So that has been my that was and has been my mantra since I started teaching. Look, I got through the long way and the difficult way, so I know exactly how to show you to get to the same point way quicker than I did.
mhm. If as you say, you could give advice.
Yes,
It's up to them whether
I
they.
always tell them when they finish their 2 year associates, go as far as you can, as fast as you can.
Mhm.
A lot of scholarships about
Oh
when we
yes,
and you them.
especially in Belize. Oof,
Yeah,
we are blessed.
yeah,
Coming here and seeing the difference in that, we are blessed as Belizeans.
definitely. A lot of scholarships are available where you and I never had scholarship opportunities like that. So these kids, it's on them to drive themselves so that they could qualify for these scholarships, go out, finish their studies, come back and for further their career. When I graduated in 2014, I say graduated loosely. I never did go back for the actual graduation thing, but when I finished, I
Yeah.
had a classmate that was 22 years old with a master's degree in architecture.
Wow.
Like,
How did they do that?
I
Wow.
wish like that was one of my biggest dreams to be done at school at a very young age. Like
Mhm,
if she decides to go be an astrophysicist, she could take out a whole new career and finish it before you even reach 30.
mhm,
Right? But she lives in Jamaica. She's Jamaican, so her she went from high school straight to the bachelor program, and from the bachelor program straight to the master's program. So
mhm,
if you finish high school at 17 or something, that 6 years of bachelor and master's, you put you at 22,
mhm,
right? So she had a straight path, like you can't get straighter than that. Yeah,
mhm,
that was a direct path, can't get more direct than that. So
mhm,
I've always looked at her with a sort of not envy, but
Ah.
yeah, yeah, that's very nice. That's what I wanted for myself. My path was obviously to be different. And
Mhm.
as I told my students, I have never looked at the path that I took or the path that chose me. I've never looked at it with regret. There, even in a loss, there's a lesson. Even
Mhm.
no matter how, you have to look at it and learn from the route that you took,
Mhm.
right? And the route that I took was not a route that I chose.
Mhm.
Right? Everybody have their difficulties in their life. Most of
Yeah.
the difficulties are financial difficulties.
Mhm.
So the only thing you can do is to be unrelenting and persevere. You have to hold on to your dream and want your dream no matter what the circumstances are. You have to want it bad enough that no matter if that flood, fire, or whatever, you still hold on to that and still try to reach it no matter what.
Mhm.
Right? So that's I can applaud myself and say no matter what my financial
Mhm.
difficulties are and challenges are, I
Mhm.
still overcame, and at the end,
Mhm. Yeah.
licensed architect master's degree holder. I
Yeah.
can't talk to you.
That's why you are where you are now because of all that you went through. So, all of us have a different journey.
Definitely.
We might meet at certain points, like where
Yeah.
you and I met. We had to go to Jamaica to
Yeah.
meet. Yeah, and now we're here today and in totally different places. So all of us have our own journeys.
Definitely. I agree. I
Right.
agree.
All right, so I want to switch gears now. I will show you some images.
Mhm.
First of all, before I do that, could you talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in the Garifuna culture?
Well, for us, it was me, my two older brothers, Isani and Carlos, and then my parents. We grew up in Belize City. Back then, it was the mid 80s, 90s, 2000s, and the 10s. Back in the 80s and the 90s, it was very difficult growing up Garifuna in Belize City. The cultural tolerance that the young ones enjoy today, we never had. There was a lot of intolerance. You start talking Garifuna, you have about Carob and you have about Salhead and a whole lot of derogatory terms
Mhm.
simply because you're speaking your language out in public. So it became very difficult, very challenging. But my parents always insisted that we speak and we be who we are, regardless of the context, regardless of
Mhm.
the noise around. Garino Huguya Garifuna Huguya Garifuna Meme Huma. That was their thing.
Mhm.
Always be. You are who you are, be who you are, be proud of who you are, no matter what. So
Mhm.
that was instilled in us from you can't tell Sam nothing about Garifuna, nothing bad here Garifuna to who and every single cell in Sebastian Cayetano's body is Garifuna. For his cell they don't identify as nothing else other than Garifuna. So there's no way that man I tell you be anything else other than Garifuna. And
Mhm.
even so, he is very tolerant. My pa and his brothers grew up like black Indians basically, black Maya. They grew up in Maya villages. They speak Maya. They
Oh,
speak
wow.
Che, but they still hold on dearly to their Garifuna language, to
Mhm.
their Garifuna culture. So while for me in Belize City, we grew up in a creolized context. They grew up in a Maya centric kind of context. So
That's very unique. Wow.
yeah, so they grew up assimilated with the Maya. They play football, they dance the Maya dance, everything. Like I said, Black
Wow.
Maya,
So
right?
so they're the half Garif and a half Maya then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For me in Belize City now, like I said, it was a challenge. Um, but I enjoy looking now and hearing the little kids being proud of saying either Garifuna,
Mm-hmm.
either Maya, either this, either that. It's all good. Nobody until an older person whispers into their ear some kind of derogatory rubbish, and then
It
thing, the
changes
whole
the way
pyramid
how they see
crumbles. They
the
have to
world,
build it
the
up
way
back
how
again.
they. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the kids themselves don't have that within them. You could put them to play together, and culture day comes, and this one comes in the Maya outfit, this one coming in a Garifuna outfit, this one
Mm-hmm.
coming in a mestizo outfit, East Indian outfit, and they play and they're good and everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's always been the elders, the older ones that are poisoning the situation because nobody ban racist.
Mm-hmm.
At some point you're cultured to become racist. Somebody tell you why not go play
Mm-hmm.
that one day,
Your
to
thoughts.
that
I
one
think
day.
things like that, it's thoughts. No,
Yeah,
like you said, nobody no ban so. It's all the influences around you or around
exactly.
them that changes, who
Exactly.
you are and how you respond to certain
Right.
things.
So you could be playing with one child today, having fun. Tomorrow you try to talk to that picnic again, you notice it's
Mm-hmm.
standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
My
And
mom
then you
said to
wonder
play
why.
with you, my mom said to talk to you because
Mm-hmm.
you're like, what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Right? So that's those are some of the experiences we grew up in. I know I had a girlfriend, and this was while I was studying in Jamaica, right? The girlfriend's father did not want to have nothing to do with me. This man never yet meet me, never saw me, you know how I look. But as soon as he heard my name, oh, that Carol boy, you had to go find a Carol
Oh,
boyfriend. Why?
wow.
I know why you got no Carol man. Da, 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 da. So I like, damn. I didn't even get a moment for meet this guy. He does not know what I look like. He didn't know what I look like. Nothing about me. He just heard the name,
Mm-hmm.
identified the name as Garifuna. I'm like,
And
nothing
made
to this
his
man.
judgments. Wow,
Right?
that's bad. That's
Fortunately, his daughter didn't share his stupidity,
mm-hmm.
and we remained in the relationship, and that went strong, right? So, and this was 2006, so it never done. This is something where who would have only back in the 90s that may happen. Who would have only back in the 80s that may
Mm-hmm.
happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
just 2006, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, pretty
Right? So,
recent enough. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So while I'm glad to say I've not had any recent experiences with that word these days, I'm very pleased to say thank God. And more
Mm-hmm.
so for my children, my upcoming children, I shudder at the thought of them having to endure what we had to endure. I remember 19, you're a sub picnic, so you put on that sheet kind of thing, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to
Mm-hmm.
school.
Mm-hmm. Proud and
Amount of
happy and know
teasing,
how good
the
you look.
amount of teasing you get now because you got
What?
on that sheet. And we never drive, we are pedestrian. So you
Yes.
walk from
Go
home to
and
school, you
cram.
hear all kind of derogatory terms,
Oh, really?
all
Oh,
kind of
wow.
thing, because you dress up in your outfit and thing. Why?
Wow.
I would not want that for my kids. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see that it's no longer that. A whole lot of sensitization has happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
We have evolved and moved on
Yes.
since then. I am very pleased of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because come on, it's a Belize. So many cultures, so
Oh,
many
yes.
ethnicities.
That's what make us rich
We
as a
can't live
country.
in this poor and apart society where you call them one names because of our culture thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it can't be that, man. Every time a melting pot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yes, it
Right?
is.
So we have to see the beauty in each other and appreciate and admire that beauty and value it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of all, value it.
Yeah.
So
So I'm assuming you speak and understand Garifuna.
correct, correct.
Okay, good. So your children, do you make that conscious effort as well to
I
pass on
try,
the
I
language to
try
them?
to how to feel. I'll be honest with you, how to feel, but I keep trying. They
Mhm,
know certain words. Um,
mhm,
They know certain words, they know certain things, everyday words they know.
Mhm.
Like let's
Mhm.
go, come, everyday thing.
Mhm.
I had been trying to use it in a safety kind of way. You might have instances where you need to speak to your kids in a way where other people around there don't know what to say,
Mhm.
right? Like in a scenario where you need to run or you need to move fast. I
Mhm.
have to tell you in English because everybody wrong. I know that way to
Mhm.
move and get
Mhm.
to it, right? So
Mhm.
I make sure that those words for those scenarios they know. But it's something that I need to work on even more.
Mhm.
Definitely. Sab would be ashamed. But
What does he say
it's something
when
that I need to work
he
on. So
spends time with his grandkids or around his grandkids?
yeah,
Does he, say Emery? You know, these kids,
yeah,
look
he
like
used to
better pick up this
step
language.
up.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah. But how important do you think it is for more um kids or people to learn the language, especially if they are of Garifuna origin?
it's definitely it's something that belongs to you. If you're Garifuna, the language belongs to you, the culture belongs to you. So you should want it, you should have it. You should have ownership of it. So it's something that's necessary. Like I said, you should have it. It's yours, not for you.
Mhm.
You know, so I've seen older persons go to my father's museum and have him teach them Garifuna. I've seen those efforts. I've seen younger people, like teenagers, also express regret that they weren't taught Garifuna.
Mhm.
So that kind of triggers me to buy. I need to do better. Get get some more words and conversations into my kids so that they could
Mhm.
at least functionally speak Garifuna. Might could talk about everything, all things,
Mhm.
all day, every day, but at least functionally speak Garifuna and be able to maneuver.
Mhm. Just like with me, my mom talked to us in Garifuna, so we understand it. I understand it, most of it. But then she didn't demand that we respond to her in Garifuna. So that part, you know, I never pick up as much.
Yeah,
So I can understand most of it, but responding, that's another thing. So yeah, it depends on, I guess, the parents and what their how important it is to them for you to learn and the effort that they put in that,
yeah,
you know.
definitely.
So what do you think we can do, to motivate more parents to want to teach their kids Garifuna?
One of the
Those who know how to speak and understand it, of course, which seems like it's becoming less and less of us.
yeah.
So, what do you think we could do to sort of switch gears and make it more appealing to learn or want to learn the language?
Well, it was easy back then when back then when I was growing up, the whole family was tied. Granny, all your auntie, all your uncle. At some point, they used to come together for summer, Christmas, whatever. So hey, everybody in a granny house at the same time, speak
Mhm,
one language,
mhm,
right? So it was way easier to learn and keep practicing and keep the language back then because
mhm,
everybody around you is speaking the same language,
mhm,
right? But as we as we grow older and people start moving far away. I, for example, live in Ladyville. My parents live in Belize City. You have uncle lived at PG. This one lived Belmont Pan. The less you see of each other, the less that communication exists. The less
Mhm.
the language is heard, the less the language is spoken, equals the less the language is taught, the less the language is used.
Mhm.
Right? So what I've seen now that it's become part of the curriculum in southern schools. I recall seeing an article where the Garifuna language has become part of the curriculum in Hopkins and the other villages. So
Mhm.
once it's there in the curriculum now we have a place to speak it,
Mhm.
right? And once we have a place to speak it, everybody will learn it. Because if out of seven are we, five are we to learn it, five are we to talk it, the next two who
Mhm.
don't speak it will start feel left out. So they're
Mhm.
forced to pick it up and speak it.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right? And that's the problem with growing up in Belize City speaking a different language from Creole. Because everybody around you speaking Creole. So
Mhm.
you who speak a different language, it becomes more difficult for you to speak your language because everybody I watch but you like, why you speak that?
Right.
Right? So when everybody around you is speaking the same language, it's way easier for you to learn it, practice it, be proud of it, and keep it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Doesn't mean that when you're outside of that context, you should throw it away. I know they say one versus the other. You keep your language no matter where it is,
Mhm.
right? But I'm saying it's way easier when everybody around you
That's
of
true.
the same culture and speaking the same language versus
Mhm.
when you're in a context where you're the only person
Mhm.
or only you are somebody else and everybody else outside of that is something completely different,
Mhm.
right? So that has been the challenge, finding a place for Garifuna to be spoken so that those who speak it can speak it. So
Mhm.
that being a part of the curriculum now creates that venue, creates that space for Garifuna to be, for the Garifuna language to be learned, practiced, and kept. So I'm glad that has happened,
Mhm.
and I
Okay.
would like to see it happen outside of the southern districts,
Mhm.
where even if it's not, because Spanish is a part of the curriculum.
Yes, all over the country.
No matter if
Yes.
you want to speak it or not, Spanish is a part of the
It's
curriculum.
there. Yes. Yes.
So what happened to the other languages of the country? We
Mhm.
could integrate those same way.
Mhm. I
even if
agree.
it's not even if it's not a full-fledged, the same way you have arts and craft and you offer arts and craft
Right. Even just an
on
intro, like
Fridays,
an
yeah, like
introductory
an
course. Yeah.
interesting where you bring it in and have it run for a little while. You can do that same way. And it could
Mhm.
be a different language for every class. All right, today we are
Mhm.
looking at Garifuna. Next week
Mhm.
we are doing a few Maya words
Right.
and
Right.
how
I
we keep
agree
it
with that.
moving.
Mhm.
Right. So
It's a good idea. I like that. Yeah.
that's the kind of, and that would, I think now is the time because everybody now open-minded and receptive. Like I say, it's not like the 80s and 90s when it's still separate and they throw words and they do all of that. It's open now.
Mhm.
Everything's, now is the time. Now is before we lose it. Definitely now is the time.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, that's part of, the mission I'm on, to try to find ways that we could inspire more people to want to learn the language and make the effort to learn the language. And it's also trying to find ways to make the language more accessible,
Yeah,
you know? Because right now it's mostly, just the Garifuna dictionary, and you have to go to the store for try get one. But how can we make it more accessible so everyone or anyone who wants to learn it can just maybe download an app, or
yeah,
go on a website and purchase a program that has the dictionary, or some translations. And so that's part of the mission I'm on. So I'm glad to. And another reason is, people relate more by seeing, you know, themselves in other people
all right.
through, media, or programs like these, where we're speaking about the language and speaking about our lives and our experiences and and show how the language fits into all of that and the state of the language as we see it. So I think people can relate more in that way and have in the back of their mind, all right, he or she to talk about how they go through what they've been through in terms of the language and their experience. So maybe I can make a conscious change to learn the language or teach my children the language. So hopefully platforms like these will sort of bring more attention
Yeah,
in that way. All
definitely.
right. So you have more time to spend, so we could switch gears.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to commend you too, Derek, on this initiative that this mission, as you rightfully say, that you're on. I think this is what's needed in today's day, where everything is online, everything is accessible. So for you to be the vehicle or the motor that takes this thing that has seldomly been online and put it online so that those who live in that world could now access it. I think that's a very, very great initiative on your part, and I want to commend you for doing it. No,
Mhm. Thank you. Much appreciated.
oh,
Means a lot coming from you. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. I will share my screen.
yeah.
Let's see here. Can you see my screen?
Yep, it's coming up.
Okay, so I will show you a series of images and you tell me the Garifuna word for the images. So this is the first one.
Uh, that's a flag. Ah, I'm trying to remember you say flag again. Can you come back to this?
Yeah, sure.
It's a drum. That's Gari-On.
Okay, and what does the drums mean to you, in the Garifuna culture?
The drum is a musical instrument and more. It's a spiritual instrument. It's a dance instrument. It's a music instrument. It's a communication instrument. Um, it's a way of life. You have people who spend their lives making these drums, and
Mhm,
for them, each drum has a story. Um, you could pick or point to a drum, and they could tell you the tree that it came from, the process that they took to make that drum, which would be different from any other drum. Um, Even their skin that they use to make the drum. It's a whole narrative and a whole story that goes into each of those drums, to the point where it's like a person. Each drum has its own identity and its own thing separate from the other drum, even if they come from the same tree. It's just a beautiful thing. Seeing those drums being made, and definitely hearing them. And there's a part of you that drum speaks to when you hear
that
the
it awakens, yes.
yeah, like something in you just wake up, as you see, and just comes alive. When
Mhm,
it's different per beat, no? When you hear a parana, different from when you hear a punta, from when you hear it in a the context or something like that. It's
mhm,
different, even though it's the same drum.
mhm.
Yeah,
You remember this?
yeah. This was yeah, yeah. Drying is a dibuhane. That's a Garifuna word.
People, honey.
It's almost the Spanish is de Buhara, I believe. So it's
Mm,
it's a
mhm,
shared it's a shared word there. You find a lot of similarities, a lot of shared words between Garifuna and Spanish, Garifuna and
mhm,
French as well.
mhm.
Yeah. Teacher. Arufu Dahatu. That's Arufu Dahatu. That's Maestro. You have
Mhm.
Maestro or Arufu Dahatu. Either way. Maestro again, that's maestro, Spanish, maestra. Um,
Mhm.
Garifuna is maestro, but that's teacher.
Mhm.
This is one of those schools down south, right?
Yes, this is a Gulisi.
Okay.
Yeah. And for this one, it's classroom. How would we say classroom?
Classroom. Uh classroom. Is that a Luba Friende? Friende is that would translate to house of learning. I'm not sure if there's a word for classroom. Let's
You know, some words they're not direct words, but you just put
yeah,
two words together.
Luba Friende. I would use Luba Friende as classroom, as in a place of learning.
Okay.
Faluma. Faluma, and then there's Falumo. Falumo is the Sarah, the white suit, the coconut
Oh
white suit.
yeah, follow me.
That's the one
I
I
do
love,
have that. Oh
Falumo.
yes, oh yes.
Damn.
Or hudut.
Yeah, man, love me some Falumo who do it, definitely.
Mhm.
No, no, in pigtail, though. I like the traditional way. Fry fish or
Yes,
boil fish,
fish. Oh yeah, all
plantain.
the way.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Coconut grater. Kahuragile Faluma. Kahuragile Faluma. That's the coconut grater. It's a new school one. When you did the old one, the one with the board and the stick.
Yes, yes.
Just
You
dig
can
up your
find a
finger,
picture of that. Yeah.
cut up your finger.
I mean, I think of the eggy one, the one with the
Yeah.
stone
That,
embedded in
that's
it.
the egg is for cassava. Right? That
That's for
big one.
cassava, so that can't really grate a coconut. More for something softer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Breadfruit. It's one of those things that was there and then it disappear. Breadfruit. Masapang. Masapang. I should I should remember breadfruit. Because they used to tease Barranco people that they eat barbecue baboon with breadfruit. So it's
What?
it's literally baboon at masapang, eh? It's
Oh gosh.
barbecue call a monkey. Barbecue call a monkey breadfruit. I probably
Right.
try that though. I tell you, I probably try. Eat a monkey foot.
I would eat the breadfruits. I don't know about the monkey part, but
You have to try a finger me. Yeah, try a monkey finger. If you eat chicken fingers, you must eat a monkey finger.
no, that feel weird. Chicken is so usual, Anything like that, no. You have to give me that without telling me that what.
Yeah.
Then I might try. Ah,
There's potatoes.
mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet
Sweet
potato.
potato, yeah.
Ah, there's a specific word. I know potato on its own is mabi, but there's
Mm-hmm.
a specific word for a sweet potato that I can't remember. Because this is
Mm-hmm.
a sweet potato when I used to make potato pong, peteta.
Mm-hmm. My mom used to always make that like around Easter.
Yeah,
She uses ba
correct,
big pot and she make
correct.
it on the fire on fire. You call it fire hot?
Yeah,
Man, that was
yeah,
tradition. That's
yeah.
one thing that I miss.
Woo.
But my sister, she picked that up, so she that the one who did the potato
Yeah,
pong. So
a lot of work. There's no Garifuna food
yes.
that is not a lot of work.
I
Ah,
know, right? Man.
what a word.
Great, great.
Yeah, really, correct, correct.
Oh boy.
I can't remember the exact term for sweet potato, but I know potato is mabi.
Mhm.
Garifuna dictionary. The book, just the book is it's either Garada or Libro, again Spanish Libro for book.
Mhm.
I hear Garada more often, although Garada is literally paper, like one paper, but it could
Mhm.
also be used for book.
Mhm. Okay. And what does this Garifuna or Garifuna dictionary mean to you?
It could be and it should be what saves, what preserves the language. Um, there's this movie, The Book of Eli with Denzel,
Mhm.
where this guy was spent a whole lot of time looking for a Bible because he knows that the Bible would control people and have them do what he wants them to do. I
Mhm.
think it's like like he's looking at the Bible as a saving instrument to control, but for him he wanted to use it to control people.
Mhm.
But in a sense, the Garifuna dictionary would have a similar value, not to control people, but
Mhm.
to preserve and prolong the life of the language, the
Mhm.
speaking of the language, rather than, and it would be great if it could be digitized with the audio, where you could
Mhm.
have somebody pronouncing the word,
Yeah, I agree.
right? So
That's possibly, that's something that I've thought of a lot.
that
It's
would
because
definitely change
the
the game.
time and the resources to do
Yeah,
that it's it's not a one person thing,
no,
It
no, it's
it
not
it would take a village.
team. Yeah,
So,
it's a whole team.
so I'm trying to build that village.
Yeah, yeah, I need some elders, some
Yes. Yes.
because you have a lot of words that were spoken that are no longer being spoken.
That too. That
You have
too.
old words, or we call them old words because the old people and use it, but young people
Mhm.
that are use it
Mhm.
that are
Mhm.
being lost. So
Mhm.
you could have a simple word like chicken, right?
Mhm.
Chicken is gayu. Chicken is I can't remember the other word. Gallina. All right,
Mhm. Yep.
let me
That.
give you one that I remember. Horse.
Mhm. Mhm.
Horse is gabayu,
Mhm.
right? But horse is also swaffle. But
Never heard that one.
that's the old word. So if
Mhm.
you're not familiar with that word, that word will cease to exist soon.
Yeah,
Because
that's for
it's
sure.
not the word that people use
Mhm.
frequently. You
Yeah.
say horse, you talk about gabayo, like caballo in Spanish, gabayo.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
There's one for chicken, but I can't remember. And that's the point. You don't use it regularly, so you
Mhm.
don't remember it.
Right. So whenever there's multiple words
Yeah, you go for the
for
one that
one word,
you and you hear more
you choose the
frequently.
most common one and
Exactly.
you choose to remember that. That's it.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Mhm.
So that's where the dictionary would come in, and that's why I was telling you, if you're doing this, try to include older people, old and new, male
Mhm.
and female, because you have certain words as well that you have the male version for and you have the female version for, right? For example, me, the first person pronoun me is Nuguya when spoken by a female, but when
Mhm.
spoken by a male, it is ow. Like I would
Mhm.
say, this is me, Emeri Cayetano. As a male, I would say Aule Emeri Cayetano. Whereas a female, you would say Nuguya Le Dorek.
Mhm.
Right? So there's a male version for it, there's a female version for it. And this is where I am finding, and I can't be mad at them because they don't know better.
Mhm.
You have young kids today saying Namu,
Mhm.
young male kids saying Namu.
Mhm.
I have some students from Griga. and they talk about Namo. Hey, dude, men don't say Namo. That is not a word for men to say,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't find no Garifuna man to talk about Namo.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a phrase that Garifuna men say. That is for Garifuna women.
Mm-hmm.
Like man would say bra or bra way.
Mm-hmm.
That is a man's term, not Namo, but the guys they don't know better. The 17, 18-year-old guys don't know better.
Mm-hmm.
They probably live around Garifuna women, so they hear a lot of Garifuna female talk. So they
Mm-hmm.
figure, well, that is the term.
Mm-hmm.
So I all I could do is correct them. I can't hold against as boy is supposed to know better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the
Because
men
you don't know better unless you're
exactly.
taught better. Then
Exactly.
you do better. If they did not have that upbringing where they were taught the differences,
Can't hold against.
then
Yeah.
there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that word. The flag.
It
The
is
flag
for the
is
flag.
panidira.
And neither. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's again. It's also that it's not an everyday word. So you have to pull up the brain there a little.
Mm-hmm. You see it mostly when there's a Garifuna event, and
Yeah,
suppose
it's not an everyday word.
uh
Garifuna
around
flag,
the November 19th festivities.
correct. Flag,
Mm-hmm.
flag is panidira.
Mm-hmm. And what does this flag mean to you?
All right, so a bit of sab is in me, so I'll bring it out. The yellow represents the sun. In agriculture, the Garifuna are agricultural people. They plant. The yellow represents the sun. The yellow represents cassava. The yellow represents hope. The white represents peace. The Garifuna are peaceful people. The black represents the fertile soil. The black soil is always considered to be the fertile soil. The emblem in the middle shows Garifuna um, traditions. They have fishing, hunting, gathering. They have the different instruments, the ruguma going around. That's used to strain the cassava bread to make cassava. Um, the women are the farmers for the most part. The men go out fishing, so you can see the man in his dory in the background. The men did the. Bear in mind, this is based on back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
No longer necessarily the case now. The women in the front have the farming utensils as well as the farming provisions. There should be some banana and some cassava there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the man in the back in the dory with the fishing rod fishing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks for that.
No problem, man. That like piece of some Kai will come out.
He must be so proud. All right. So other than the architect side, the lecturer side, the what other talents or activities do you participate in other than, what we've discussed so far?
Um, not much. Between commuting to Belmopan for work, being head of engineering, being an architect, raising three kids. No time left for nothing else. I'll be honest with you. Didn't need even to sleep.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what activities do you used to enjoy then before
um,
life
basketball.
gets so busy?
I'm an avid basketball viewer. Right now, the NBA is in its playoffs, the finals. I'm with the green team, Team Celtics.
Ooh, okay.
But I saw I come out of that. Uh, but yeah,
Mhm,
that's where I find my stress and my joy outside of all things mentioned before, the career and the kids and all of that.
mhm,
Basketball. Yeah, I don't play it anymore, man. Man get big and slow. It's not an old man's sport.
Oh gosh. Uh-huh.
We really get into just watching it now, no?
Mhm, mhm. Be spectators
That stress on
and
yourself
just
and because
live vicariously
yeah,
through the youngins who can do
that's
it.
the word. Make the 19-year, 20-year old like run your house and watch it and sweat when you sweat.
There you go. Yeah.
Cause when you miss celebrate when you hit.
Mhm, mhm. You said it.
Alright.
Yeah. All right. So what's next for you? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? What's next for you?
I I want to be in a position where I could affect greater change. Um, some kind of administrative position where I could reach a greater, where I could have a greater impact on society and push architecture, use it as a medium, a vehicle to push architecture. I've always believed architecture is for everybody.
Mhm,
I tend to believe that architecture is only for the rich people.
mhm,
There's certain people who afford to make their house look a certain kind of way. Only
mhm,
certain people could afford fancy things. I don't believe that is the essence of architecture. Architecture is the function of form for whatever the person or whatever the use is. Which, if you look at that, that is everything for everybody. No part of that says only this type of person deserves that.
mhm,
Um, if you live in a cardboard box, that is architecture. You literally took something that was not meant for that and made it into a function that you need, which is a house in your case.
mhm,
Get a house out of cardboard. That is architecture. That is the essence of architecture,
mhm,
right? Um, so to be put in a position where architecture can be given, can be shared with everybody. At the same time, on a personal note, I get old, I need to have a firm. I need to have a firm with an office with a door with partners and employees and report to that at 8 o'clock instead of reporting to somebody else's office
mhm,
at 8 o'clock. That's my ultimate goal and endeavor. So on a personal note, that's for me for what's next.
mhm,
But societal note, I think some kind of administrative thing where even if I'm just involved in some body that looks and deals with policy or something where you impact people, where you reach people and you impact people. I think that's where I want to be next.
mhm. Okay, and that that made me think of another question. What what made you stay in Belize to live there and make your life there? Like a lot of people,
Leave.
especially when they have certain careers or they have high aspirations, and they've invested in themselves to get the highest education that they possibly can. They tend to move away and go live in another country where they can make more money and probably get in a higher position per se. So what made you stay in Belize?
Um, yeah, so nice. Let me just first say that I you have a lot of people who condemn either decision. People
Mhm,
who condemn those who leave. Say, well, you can't. It's like voting. Oh, you left the country, so you don't got no say in where the country can. So you
mhm,
stay and try and build it. You left.
mhm,
Then there are those who say, "Why you stupid? You got a degree and you got back home. I know you have to go teach. You have to go be a garbage man. You go do something. And nothing to do with what you did, where you got land because that's the other side
mhm,
of the argument. I am for full choice. A person has to make a decision based on what's best for that person.
mhm,
Whatever that decision is, whether it is to stay in Belize and work or to go, abroad and work. The thing with Belizeans, no matter where you're there, are Belizeans still,
Mm-hmm.
right? As long as you have love of self, love of country, you will find a way to help the country from where you are. Even if it's a small thing like you send money for your ma, you send money for your brother, that is still helping the country
Mm-hmm.
on your part. Right? So I don't believe that there is any decision where Belize is completely off the table to say, why you know, you do nothing for the country in any kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So those who stay could be doing more same way.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you stay, it automatically means that you've won that argument. You may be outside of the country doing more for the country than the people inside the country.
That is very true. That is true. Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily where you are geographically, especially given the internet. You could be anywhere in the world and be everywhere in the world at the same time. So
That's one way to look at it. I never looked at it that way.
where you physically are is no longer a hindrance
Mm-hmm.
to whatever you want to do.
That's true. Especially
Whatever
after the
it is you
pandemic,
want to do, you
you
could do
know,
it from
we
anywhere.
learned that, yeah, especially after the pandemic, we learned,
Exactly.
you know,
So
remote working and, helping remotely,
yeah,
it's possible, So we have more options now,
yeah.
more
For
than
me
ever.
personally though, I don't have, and I would say it's unequivocally, I don't have states fever. I have no desire to go live in this. You would have put me in Singapore or put me in Netherlands or Copenhagen before you put me in States. I'm really tell. I would go there. Japan. You could send me to Japan tomorrow and I go in. Right? Send me to Baltimore. Okay, for the States like that. So where to answer why everything for me that I believe. I am a home person. I was like, why would you stay home so much? Everything for me, the home. I literally made my house so that everything I needed, so I don't have to left there.
Mhm,
Right? So
mhm,
it's the same macro complex, macro context. Everything for me that I believe. If I need something Amazon today, I go buy that come to me. I don't even go there for that. It's right. It's all of that comes to me.
mhm,
I don't see a desire to go to the US to go get that. Um, there's a value in being. We can't all leave, right?
mhm,
If
mhm.
all are we left, then all of us keep leaving.
Yeah.
If those who are studying see that when you finish studying, you don't return home, then nobody returns home,
Mhm, mhm,
right? If those who are studying see that people return home and can still be successful while being home, then you will have more people staying home,
mhm,
right? So there is that level of responsibility as well where you stay home. If you choose to stay home, you choose to bear that responsibility that you're showing others who are coming behind you that they too can also stay home and still be
mhm,
successful. Just
mhm,
that when you're in Belize, you can't eat half of one plate. One plate now a full you, right?
hmm.
You have to be doing head of engineering, lecturer, architect on the side, whatever. If you need to sell fudge outside of skies, whatever. Right? There can't be just one plate to eat off of. It's not no states. In the US, you could probably have one job that pays you $20,000 for the month, and you're good. Your mortgage will be $15,000 for the month, and you still live just like the next man who live that Belize. Right? So it's I don't know. It's what people choose to do and where people choose to do it from.
Mhm,
I will not sit here and condemn nobody who are gonna study and went go to the US and are making their money in the US. I will not sit here and condemn nobody who could have gone to the US but chose to stay in Belize and do their thing.
Mhm.
Everybody reached that fork in the road. Everybody makes that decision because things at home are not perfect either. Right?
Mhm.
You have situations where you are qualified, you apply for a job, you don't get the job while somebody who knows somebody or who
Mhm.
knows more somebodies than you, but way less qualified than you will get that job.
Mhm. That's
So
true.
oftentimes I just fatigue people frustrated no one deal with that. Those are the ones who end up leaving. Very seldom it's people who no can work none at all and just as a graduate go. People
Mhm.
graduate, come to Belize, try find job, try find job, try find job, can't find job. See who actually got the job. I say, but I'm not depend this. Then they leave.
Mhm.
So it, it's seldom that the people will just, but I just stop. I know I stop the Belize none at all. When my flight for Taiwan dropped me to the US, that's the way I was there. Oftentimes they do come home. They
Mhm.
do look for jobs.
They
They
do
look
try, yeah.
for
Yeah.
opportunities that I can't find, or they do find and they lose the job to somebody who is way less qualified, frustrated, and move on. You can't
Mhm.
mix it in for that. We know what Belize is. We know how Belize operate. Now, who you know, they know what you know. So if people say they know I mess with that and they move on, then we can't mix it up for that, Papa.
Mhm. All right. So I'll go to my final question.
That's for
Um,
everyone.
so what do you want your legacy to be? You know, when it's all said and done, that time comes when people hear your name or think of you, what do you want them to
Hmm.
think, to feel when they hear the name Emeri Cayetano?
Ah. Um, First of all, people should know that's a good dude. That's somebody you want to know. That is somebody who's layered. It's not a one-dimensional person.
Mhm.
And what you might see from that person, somebody else have a different interpretation of that person. But at the end of the day, we can all agree that that was a hardworking person, an honest person, somebody who got work done. I
Mhm.
always pride myself in being somebody who gets things done. I hate
Mhm.
being in situations where you just sit down and lay and they drag your foot and a whole lot of bureaucracy and you can't get things done because a lot of red tape. Me and all that. Give me the shovel, give me the thing, I broke it down for you. And you
Mhm.
get tired and wait after a while and let's go. If you have to go through the back door because the front door, it take too long, we have to do that too. Right? So I want to be remembered as a verb, not as an adverb, not as an adjective. I'm an action word. I don't want to be remembered as something that describes an action or something that just describes an undo. Remember me as a verb,
Mhm.
an action, whether a spark, right? A spark. Even if I am not the entire flame, let me set it off, right? So someone who challenges a different way of thought. We've always looked at something one certain way. Now we
Mhm.
could look at it a different kind of way because of him,
Mhm.
right? Or because of something that he did, make us now look at it differently. Um, if it's in Garifuna, I would love that. If it's in architecture, I would love it. If it's in both, I would be in heaven.
Mhm.
And so that I believe would be my legacy.
Mhm.
And I hope to pass that on to my kids so they could value that and express that in their moving forward.
Mhm. All right, so I want to thank you, Serme, for being willing and showing up and sharing of yourself and your experiences and being so open and, you know, willing to be here. So much appreciated. And I appreciate knowing you as a person and what you stand for. You know, I believe you're an exceptional person. You're talented, you work hard, and you treat people the way you would want to be treated. So I definitely appreciate that about you.
Thanks, Lord. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. And again, I
Mm.
want to commend your effort, man. This is something very good that you're doing. I hope it picks up some traction and it takes off because it's something that is lacking but very needed. Garifuna needs to be online so that it can be seen, celebrated, acknowledged, appreciated. We don't see enough of it online, right? So
Mhm.
the fact that you've brought it online via this medium, I'm honored. If I am number two behind Mohobob Flores, big things. If somebody else is there and I'm behind that person, big things same way.
You're there in line, and you are in line.
And
Either way, you're
that's
the in of the line. Thank you so much.
thank you too, Derek. I appreciate
Okay.
it. Man.
Take care.
Take
Ayo.
care. Ayo.